What's up, Magical Misfits? Drew here. This video today is basically to update everyone on what's been going on with me and what I plan to do moving forward. So the first thing that I want to say is that 2020 is just, I know I don't have to tell you, but I genuinely believe that this year we are being given an opportunity to work through some very big, hard shadows, not only as a collective, but on individual levels. And I know that that is part of the undercurrent of what has been going on with me personally. So that aside, a shadow got poked. Probably my biggest shadow. Now, in January, Aset had informed me that we would be working on this shadow this year. So when I made my last video, I was fully aware of what was happening within me in the video. The problem is I was emotional at the time because I was right in it. And so I definitely could have articulated myself better and been more eloquent, if you will. But the problem with that is I knew I needed to disappear, and I knew I was going to be gone for a little while, and I didn't want to just drop off the face of the earth without any warning. So I wanted to say, hey, something's going on, something's up, I need to step aside. In the days following the upload, I actually considered strongly making a second video to try to clarify, but I ultimately decided against that. First and foremost, I was not in the right headspace for that yet. I was still in it. And so, my fear was that I might inadvertently make the whole thing worse. But I actually thought at the time, and still think now, that even if that didn't happen, the other option was basically nothing. Not a whole lot would come out of the video, so what would be the point? The reason that I debated so heavily about whether or not to make another video was definitely influenced by the fact that I knew I wasn't fully articulate in that video and that I could have done a better job, but again, knowing that I couldn't have done a much better job in that moment at that time. That's why we're revisiting it now, but now that I'm in a better headspace. But mainly it was because I am friends with people outside of social media. So when I uploaded that video, I walked away. I totally shut it down. As soon as I uploaded, I was done. I did not engage with any form of social media until this past Monday, actually. So over 3 weeks, no contact on social media whatsoever. I didn't watch any videos. I didn't look at anything. I normally do at least 2 social media advertisements for my business a week. I didn't do that. The first one I did since that video was this past Monday. I just really needed to disconnect completely. But because I am friends with people outside of social media, they contacted me and let me know that there seemed to be some fallout or blowback from my video. And that was extremely upsetting to me because that was never my intention. I want to state this very clearly. My shadows are my own. My reactions, emotions, triggers, shadows, all of them are mine. While 99% of the time, those things are triggered, my shadows are poked, emotions are sparked, what have you, because of an outside catalyst, I always do my level best to not hold that outside catalyst responsible for those reactions, emotions, shadows, what have you. No one else is responsible for my emotions, my reactions, or my shadows. None of it. My triggers, they are my own, and I fully own that. There is no blame to lay anywhere. So this is why I was so upset, because obviously what I was trying to get across didn't completely get across. I know some people got it because I've had contact with them and spoken to them. They got it. But there were obviously people who didn't. And I claim responsibility for that just as much as them. They have their part in it, but I have mine. And that's another thing. I was deeply hurt in this situation, right? But again, I don't hold anybody, nobody is responsible for that. It may not be a good analogy, but I had a Japanese cherry blossom tree, and when Hurricane Florence came through, she got damaged and she died, and it broke my heart. I was devastated, but that's nobody's fault. That's my own, because I cared about this thing and it happened. I don't hold other people or other things responsible for my emotions or my reactions. They are mine. We each have different triggers. We each have different shadows, so on and so forth. They are not the responsibility of everyone around us to tiptoe and whatever. And because I did not articulate that properly in my last upload, some people may have misunderstood. And that was upsetting for me because that was not my intention. Yes, I was deeply hurt, but other people were also deeply hurt as a result of this whole situation. I cannot take responsibility for the full situation in its entirety, but I absolutely do take responsibility for my part. Anyone whom was hurt in any way as a result of my video, the things that I said or did, I wholeheartedly apologize because that was never, ever, ever my intention. If my video just upset you, it made you angry, or you felt hurt or angry for me, even any of that, I apologize. I take responsibility for that. I am very sorry. I can't apologize enough because that genuinely was not my intention. I just wanted to share what was happening for me and let everyone know that I was going to disappear for a while. There is absolutely no blame, shame, anything in this situation at all. Nobody did anything to me. Nobody did anything wrong. It's just that there were things going on around me that I had a reaction and I needed to deal with that. So I did. The second thing I thought about the video was maybe I'll take it down, but I'm not. Obviously, I haven't done that. I'm not going to do that just now. I think there will come a point when I will take it down. But for me, until I have fully worked through this whole thing, it feels like I'm trying to hide it or run away from it. And I don't want to do that. It's real. It happened. It is happening. I'm still going through this. I'm still working on this. So until I feel like I can put a pin in it and be done, I think the video will stay up. So what was going on with me? What was this shadow that I speak of? Okay, so as I said, in January, Osset let me know that we would be working on a big one, maybe my biggest. And that is the shadow of judgment. Not just me feeling judged by others, but I myself judging others as well. This is a huge shadow and theme in my life that has been rearing its ugly head over and over and over again. In so many aspects of my life, throughout my life, on some very subtle levels and on some very, extreme in-your-face levels. Again, not just me feeling judged, but judging others. And it's it's horrible. But she let me know we'd be working on that. And so for me, as I made that video, I was fully aware that my judgment shadow had been poked. Now, I don't even know that anybody was trying to judge anyone else. I cannot speak for other people. I just know my reaction and how I felt. The topic was really had a lot to do with labels of this greater discussion that was happening. And for me, the labels themselves aren't the problem. It's the judgments that people have attached to those labels that got me going. And again, my own judgments. I have my own judgments about certain labels. So if I perceive that someone is labeling me that way, it doesn't feel good because I have my own judgments about that label. And then the labels that I present to people, they have their own judgments about those labels that may not match what it is I'm trying to convey to them through the labels. I mean, it's a whole other thing. But the core of that for me was this judgment shadow. And I knew that that's what was going on. So I knew I needed to step back. I needed to take a minute for myself, look at it, and try to deal. I'm going to hold my hands up and fully admit that I have not done that. I have not worked on that shadow yet. And it's not because I'm avoiding it at all. It's actually because in the days and weeks following that upload, I realized that there are two other underlying issues that I should probably deal with first. I was completely unaware. I was completely unconscious of them until after this upload. The first one, it actually isn't chronologically the first one. It's actually the second one that I came to in the weeks following the upload, but it's the first one I want to discuss, was identity. My identity. So if you haven't realized by now, if you don't know, I'm actually a very, very confident person. I'm very confident in myself and who I am. I am very I mean, I'm sure there's things in my personality that I'm not fully conscious of, but I'm a pretty self-aware person, and I'm aware of my many flaws and negative attributes, if you will, but I'm just as aware of my many abilities and gifts and talents and positive, wonderful qualities. I have great self-esteem and I'm very self-confident. I know my shortcomings, there are certain areas that I'm not confident in, but that's because I know that they are my shortcomings, right? I'm very comfortable in my skin. But identity is kind of a funny thing. So what I'm referring to here is like different aspects of who I am will step forward in different situations. So for example, in my family dynamic, my identity is a little bit different. The parts of me that are prominent in my mother and wife aspects are forefront, right? Whereas I've had jobs where I've been a boss and I've been a lowly peon nobody, and different attributes, different parts of me step forward. In the little peon job, I had to keep my mouth shut, keep my head down. It wasn't a good job, and just do the job, right? So different aspects of my identity, of who I am, step forward in that. And then the boss one, I had to be a leader. I had to actually fire people. It was horrible. So different parts of my personality, of who I am, came through, and how people may have seen me, what they may have thought was my identity, wouldn't exactly be correct. It's just a part of that. And so that is also true of my channel. What I give to you here is not the full thing, right? For example, you guys don't really have a grasp of my sense of humor. Not because I'm hiding that from you, it's just not really appropriate. It's not inappropriate at all. It's just that my channel is witchcraft and spiritual heavy, mainly witchcraft. And so, you may get a little glimpse of that piece of me, but you're really not going to get the full picture the way my family would, for example. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about my identity. I realized that too much of my identity was being tied up in YouTube pagan community. I was identifying too heavily with community. Not that there's anything wrong with, I love this community and I love being part of it, but because I was projecting too much of me, of who I am, of my identity into that, it got sticky. I'll explain. So if I'm out in the grocery store, I live in a very conservative southern place. And there have been many times that I have had the eyes of judgment upon me. I have been even told some very not nice things to my face based on my physical appearance. I've had more positive than not, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it happens, okay? When that happens to me, I'm like, rude. Like, it doesn't feel good, right? It's prickly. But within a day or, a few days, I'm fine. Actually, typically within moments, I'm fine, because I just don't really care. Yes, you're poking my judgment shadow, but I don't really care because I don't identify with you. Like, you mean very little to me, if anything at all, right? That's not the case with the YouTube pagan community, with this community. When my shadow was poked in that environment, I reacted it wasn't violent, but I mean, rather than like the lady at the grocery store pokes my shadow, this felt like a bayonet just rammed right through my shadow, just eviscerating it, It was horrible. And that's because I identified so heavily and I felt so at home and part of that. And don't get me wrong, I still feel part of that, but I realized I was putting too much in there, and I need to pull back a little bit and just be Drew, be a little bit more insular, be a little less involved in that on a personal level. Again, completely my own deal. Nobody made me that way. I did that. I chose that, whether consciously or not. I did that. And so that's for me to rectify. So that's part of the underlying problem. The other thing that I came to realize within days of the upload was that my spirit is a bit anemic. Let me explain this way. So here we have these are the 5 stages of me in any given day, right? In my life every day, let's put it that way. So we have the mundane. So this is the wife and mother who cooks dinner and does the laundry and does dishes and cleans the bathrooms and works out in the yard and takes care of the dogs and does the vets and does the doctor appointments and yada, yada, yada. There's that, right? So that, I mean, this is important. This is happening on a pretty well, it's happening daily, regardless if I take a day off from housework, it's still there, right? It's an everyday thing, all day, every day. Even if I step back a little bit, it's still there. Then you have my business, and I give a lot of time and energy to my business. It is the business that my husband and I share. He does make product for it, and he does, if there's ever any legal question or we need to do something with technology, like he's always there to help me or whatever, but the bulk of the responsibility and anything that gets done with regards to our business is done by me. He has a job outside the home. I do not. There's the website. I set that up completely. And it's an ongoing thing. I maintain it. And these are all my personal choices. This is how I choose to do it, but I put a lot of time and energy into it. The photographs of product. It takes me hours and hours to photograph product. I usually will do 6 in one day, and it will take hours of that day to do that because I like to elaborately stage them so that they're beautiful, but it's not just about beauty. 95% of what is in the picture actually corresponds to the product. So for example, if I'm doing something that has to do, like if I'm advertising a product that is for releasing, 90 to 95% of the elements in, sometimes 100, in the photograph correspond to releasing somehow. And so, I have to grab my grimoire, figure out what I want to put in the photo, what I've got that I can put in the photos, and then choose what I want to put in the photos, make it look beautiful, take the photos, edit the photos. Like, it's a long thing. And granted, I don't have to do that, but I choose to do that. That's the way I want to do it. It's a lot of my time and energy. Then there's, the actual making of the product takes a lot of time and energy. It's an ongoing thing. I'm not necessarily making anything every day. And there are even weeks that will go by that I don't, but I mean, typically I'm making stuff. I'm making something. I'm doing something for the shop. There are the social media advertising write-ups that I do. I usually sit down once a month and write up for the whole month everything I want to do. So it's basically an advertisement. I've got the photos I've taken and edited and whatnot. And then I do a little write-up, a little blurb so I can put it up on social media. There's Monday and Tuesday of this week, I spent hours. I spent the majority of my day in my studio in here doing behind the scenes stuff that nobody cares about but me. that it's not true, but like we have these little disclaimers that go out with our candles and our herbs, and the way that I like to do them is pretty intricate and it takes a lot of my time and energy. Packaging for our candles, I sat there and got it all prepped and ready so it would be ready when it's time. Some other forms of packaging I got together. Basically spent 2 days messing with things that are gonna end up in the trash. I mean, hopefully they'll be recycled whenever possible, but just things that, they're not actually product and they're not actually, like, nobody's gonna keep them more than likely. They're just gonna toss it in the trash when they're done with it. But it's necessary for the business. I may not have to do it exactly the way that I do it, but it still needs to be done, and I choose to do it the way I choose to do it. At any rate, the point is a lot of time and energy goes into my business. Then the third thing you had was my channel, She Who Walks. Again, a lot of my time and energy in a week goes into my channel. It did. The past 3 years that I've been up here on YouTube, it's been a lot of brainstorming, a lot of times sitting, thinking about things that I would like to talk about on my channel, figuring out does that translate into a video? Can I do that? Will it be interesting? That yada, yada, yada. There are a lot of videos up on my channel, like where I talk about herbs or crystals, or my feather magic video. I had to keep notes for those because I don't have a memory good enough to remember all the properties for all the different things. Like, I just can't. So the time it takes to make the notes. Also videos like crystal gridding and sacred geometry need notes, different kind of notes, but I'm trying to express something in a way that will be understandable and be articulate and succinct. So to write out some notes so that I don't go off, because if I just try to explain something off the top of my head, it's going to be all convoluted. It really is. So again, the time taken for those notes. Videos like my not so witchy favorites, or the witching on a budget video, going around, grabbing all the things I want to show in the video so I can be like, hey, this, blah, 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 and put it down. And then after the video, cleaning all that up, which is also true of the herb and crystals. And, anytime there's any kind of visual aid, if you will, in the video, the time it takes to collect all that and then to clean it up afterward, the time it takes to film the video. I have to edit my videos because I can't even tell you, my dogs are in here right now, how many snorts I'm editing out of this video because my dog snorts all the time. I'll be editing out all of that, any sneezing, burping, whatever. I try to take out as many ums as I can because I think it's distracting and annoying. And then the worst thing, the biggest reason I edit is I have squirrel moments like crazy. I will be talking and all of a sudden something clicks in my brain and I would just stare off into space for, it seems like an eternity when you're filming. And I edit out a lot of that kind of stuff. So there's the time it takes to edit. Then on top of that, there is the time I put into other people's content. I would spend at least one day a week watching other witches' content, searching for new content, whatever. Like, I had to do that. Once a week, I had to look at everybody else's content. Not everybody's, but I had to look around at my community because I was really trying to build something there. And I was just too invested, honestly. Just a lot of my time in a week to YouTube. Then came my witchcraft practice, and then came my spiritual path. And I realized that that is the order that it was in. And for me, this is the most important. My spirituality is the most important. And I was like, it's last. Why is it last? And I just honestly was like, thank the gods for Osset, because it would be even worse had she not come into my life when she did last October. This past year, my spiritual path would have been so distorted and so off. And I mean, part of the reason why it's been off this year, 2020, it is COVID related. I live not even a 10-minute drive from the beach, and normally I spend a lot of time throughout the year on the beach, either actually physically on the shore or just on the island, the beach where I live, because, like the labyrinth is there. There's many reasons why I would find myself over there on that island, and usually a lot of times on the shore itself, on the beach. But I haven't because of COVID. People around here, they're like, COVID schmovid, they don't care. So I'm being extra cautious. I don't leave my house. I've left my house once a week since February to go grocery shopping, except in April. I had to go to a doctor's appointment. I have hypothyroidism. If I don't have my medicine, I'm a zombie, no joke. Other than that, I don't leave my house. I go out into my yard, but the nature trail, it's in between here and the beach. I don't even know how many minutes away it is. 5 to 7 minute drive. I used to walk it weekly, if not daily, and I haven't since this started. These again are circumstances of my own creation to an extent. This is my reaction to what's happening with COVID that's created this. I take responsibility for that. But the thing is, I realized I was upset. It was the days following the video. I was upset that I had possibly been misunderstood and that people may be being hurt because of something I did, and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know what to do. And I just took myself out into the backyard. And we have a wisteria arbor. And there are no blooms on right now, but it's full and green and beautiful, crazy. And there's a little bench in front of it. And I sat down on the bench, planted my feet on the ground, grabbed the wisteria, and I just called on Gaia and Great Spirit to help ground me, to center me, help me center, find my center, and to guide me, and to stand behind me, and to give me the insight I needed to move through this and to get through and to do the right thing. And I'm sitting there, I take a deep breath and feel some relief. And suddenly the sound of birds singing whooshes. It's just like they're screaming their songs at me. And it just dawned on me in that moment that that's what I was missing. That I have been so caught up in, in part it's COVID's fault, or, my reaction to COVID's fault. And then the other part is this seeking so much online connection through social media and what have you. And while that's wonderful, that's great, I love that, it's important to me as a person. It's not what I need. You know, it's like what I want. It's good. I don't need that to feed my spirit. What I need to feed my spirit is to walk among the trees, to stand on the shore, to lay in the grass and to soak up the sun or the moon. These are the things that feed my spirit. Not YouTube, not any other form of social media, not even community on a human level. Those things are important. I love them. I want them, but I don't need them to feed my spirit. That's not to say I don't need human connection at all. I'm just saying, like, looking for some big community is not something that I need for my spirit to grow and flourish and be healthy. And I just realized that I had been putting too much attention and focus in the wrong place. So when I look at these 5 things, you have the mundane, you have my business, which is witchcraft, you have my channel, which is witchcraft, you have my practice, which is witchcraft, and then you have my spiritual path, which is not for me. My spiritual path and witchcraft are not the same thing. My witchcraft is colored by my spiritual path, but my spirituality is something completely separate from witchcraft for me. It is the core of me, and whether I have any sort of practice or, you know, if I were like Stephen Hawking and all I could do is sit and think, I could still have my spirituality and my spiritual path, right? And technically I could still have witchcraft too, but that's neither here nor there. They're separate. At least my spirituality is separate. It bleeds into everything else, which is why for it to be anemic is not cool. It's not okay. Well, I can't the mundane has nowhere to go. Like, that's every day, all day, right? Whether I give it my full attention or not, it doesn't matter. Like, I can ignore the laundry for a month. It's still there and it needs to be done. Then you have my business. And I don't have any leeway to give on that anyway, as far as I'm concerned. And then there's my channel. And I do feel like I have leeway there. I feel like something's got to give. And that's the thing I'm most comfortable with giving. Having said that, I'm not going away. I'm not abandoning my channel. I'm not leaving. I do genuinely love being part of this and doing this, being part of the community, making this content and interacting with all of my subscribers and the other creators on YouTube. I love it. It is very fulfilling for me and it is important, but I have to prioritize. So I'm going to pull back a little bit. I'm still going to be creating content, though I don't know exactly what that's going to look like forever and ever. I feel like for the time being, I'll probably upload once a month, whereas I was uploading at least once a week. There may come a point where I'm like, okay, let's do bi-monthly and do twice a month. And there may come a point where I'm like, all right, I'm ready to do this. Let's do once a week again. I genuinely don't know. Until further notice, I'm going to do once a month. That way, it's not all on top of me all week, every week. Not, all of it. It's not all on top of me all week, every week. I will have more time and more leisure with my time to devote to each and every facet. That feels really good to me. This past month has been wonderful. I've had so much time. I've gotten so much done in my business that needed to be done that had just kept getting pushed to the side. It's not even funny. And so much self-reflection and realization has happened. It's been wonderful. It's been a very productive month for me. Not feeling, and again, all self-imposed, but not feeling this pressure of YouTube, relieving some of that and being like, okay, let's put that on the back burner. Left so much room for everything else. So that's my plan moving forward. I do also plan on being a little I'm not going to put pressure on myself to keep up with everyone else's content any longer. I haven't watched any content this whole month, but that was just because I was taking a break from social media altogether. I will start watching again, but I don't see me doing a lot of VRs or tags or anything like that moving forward. I mean, there may come a time again where I do, but I just don't want to put so much of my time and energy into that. I want to kind of come back into myself and work on me and be more focused on me and what it is I need to do. And I will share that with you, obviously. I want to say thank you so much to all of my subscribers and fellow content creators. You have all been so very supportive, and I knew you were all lovely and wonderful before, but I just adore you more than I could ever say. We reached 3,000 and beyond during my time away. I had a whole thing planned for that, but I'm letting it fall by the wayside and just moving forward. But I am so very grateful for that. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me, and your energy, your thoughts, all of it. I'm very grateful, and I love you all to bits. And again, I genuinely apologize for any discomfort, upset, hurt, and any negative emotional, psychological reaction that I may have inadvertently created as a result of my last upload. It definitely was not my intention, and there's nothing that I can do or say to take it away, and that genuinely breaks my heart. But at any rate, this is a super long video. I hope I can edit it down some. I suppose if I'm only uploading once a month, it's not that bad, but at any rate, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. I will be moving forward looking at this shadow stuff and working more consciously with my spirituality and my spiritual path, and I will share that with all of you if you're interested. Thank you so much for your patience and your support, and for listening to me ramble on here for however long this video ends up being. And until next time, much love and gratitude.